Hi there. This is a special preview of an episode that you can only find on patreon.com/Elwood City Limits. Take a listen, and if you like what you hear, consider supporting us for as little as $1 a month. We appreciate you listening no matter what, but if you want to hear all kinds of extra content, then patreon.com/Elwood City Limits is the only place to hear that. Until then, here's a little preview of what that extra content sounds like.
And I guess this is a good opportunity to talk about, okay, first let's start with the theme song, and then we'll get into rockapella as a whole. So every week, we do kind of our little analysis of the theme song. Is it a banger? Does it slap? Is this trunk knocking music? Am I playing this in the car? Mm-hmm. And I feel like we've been in a drought lately. I feel like these PBS Kids shows, whether they're good or bad, Marvin the Tap Dancing Horse, who even remembers how that song goes?
No, not me.
Where this is a certified banger. This is amongst the best theme songs we have heard on this podcast, Will. This is like a masterclass in children's theme songwriting.
With all respect to the to all the other aspects of the show, which are done really fairly well. We talked about Lynn Thigpen, we talked about the game itself, we talked about the figure of Carmen Sandiego. This is probably the most memorable part of the show to anybody who from casual watcher to someone who saw every episode.
And going even further with that, Carmen Sandiego, as we break down all these different elements, the geography being based on the computer game, the figure of Carmen Sandiego herself, the chief, the host, the sets, the editing, it's all elements, it's greater than the sum of its parts, but the keystone of this proverbial soup that is Carmen Sandiego, the key ingredient, the bouillon, if you will.
Yeah.
Is rockapella.
Rockapella.
Rockapella, excuse me. Now I'm getting
you keep
really
wanting to call them fellas. I know that there's several men.
I mean, they are fellas. There is not a female member.
No.
But yes, rockapella, a acapella group that performs rock music, hence the name. That'll help me remember it. Despite me not remembering their name, they are an inherently memorable part of the show because beyond the great theme song, they're providing sound effects. And what's so great about this is, it's not like there's a set rockapella segment, though there is. But they kind of surprise you. Like, every once in a while, a kid will answer something or something will be revealed, and it's like, oh, here's a little rockapella part. And Greg gets excited, the kids laugh, everyone's all kind of excited about rockapella. And then there's rockapella segments where they, sing a little song about the country we're about to talk about. And it goes to show, because this is something that's really ingrained its way into people's heads. You would think a show about, this international criminal who's dressed in all red and, this loud chief, these would be the things people really remember. But people, Carmen Sandiego, you say that, the second thing people say is rockapella did the music. It's wild.
Well, and if you look up on YouTube, you can find a Carmen Sandiego, one of those Zoom reunions that they did last year during the pandemic, and it's basically just members of rockapella. Now, of course, part of that is because, they couldn't have Lynn Thigpen, unfortunately, but it's largely the memories of rockapella working on that show. And it's interesting because I think acapella, the style of music, has a much different a reputation today than it did in the 1990s. I think back then it was a lot more novel. It was a lot more distinctive. Whereas today, I feel like acapella has a bit of as much of a hatedom as a fandom. You know what I mean? We've gotten 3 Pitch Perfect movies. There's bands like Walk Off the Earth, or not Walk Off the Earth. Is that their name?
Are you thinking of
Pentatonics?
Pentatonics? You were just thinking of bad music, and that's why you said Walk Up the Earth.
Oh, now come on! I don't hate Pentatonics.
I'm just hating.
I don't hate acapella, as a matter of fact, but there's a lot of people who just cannot abide its foolishness, as Tommy Lee Jones would say. So I understand. It's just funny to look back and be like, you're right, Lucas. When you watch the show, everybody loves rockapella. Everybody loves these guys. And it's, it's perfect for kids. It's a really cool thing when you discover, I don't know what the first time I encountered, an acapella group or something, but then you think, I'm just like, wait a minute, they're not using instruments? That's just their mouths? That's just their voices? That's crazy. It is something that is almost inherently interesting to children. And
Something
I don't mean that
gotta
an
ask-
insult. It's just, think about the first time that you heard anything a cappella. It was probably when you were quite younger, and you were probably taken with it for a little bit.
I gotta ask, you mentioned this, and this is probably a huge part of it, is that rockapella, unlike some modern acapella groups, they have more of a reputation for having swag, if you will, right? It wasn't people don't find rockapella cringy for one reason or another, and I think a part of that is that they were kind of one of the first ones to do it, to do kind of a cappella in the style of popular music. But
Right.
I think the other element that this modern, your pentatonic style of a cappella, your YouTube cover style of a cappella, pitch perfect, if you will, is missing. They have the a cappella will, but they don't have the rock. Rockapella, they got rock, you know what I mean? And so I think that, combined with being the first ones around the scene, that's why they have the reputation they have.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, yeah, a wonderful part of the show.
Okay, that'll do it for now, but we'll see you next time on Elwood City Limits or over on patreon.com/Elwood City Limits. Have a great week.